What's up, guys? This is Chris from DraftDashboard.com.
Here are my DFS picks for MLB Saturday, July 17th.
These picks apply for DraftKings and FanDuel. Before I get started, please drop a like on this video and hit that red subscribe button
And hit that bell icon.
so you don't miss our new videos.
In this video, I'm going to go over my top DFS picks for today's MLB slate.
And if you stick around to the very end of this video, we'll use the Draft Dashboard tools to make a DFS lineup using the picks we just made.
Okay guys, we have a 10-game slate tonight, so let's take a look at the pitcher position. I like Garrett Cole with a 13% pitching advantage over a low salary batting team, the Boston Red Sox. Garrett Cole is only giving up a .554 OPS versus righties, and he's facing 6 righties here tonight. Now on top of that, the Red Sox have only hit 23 of his last 93 pitches. That's a .247 batting average. Garrett Cole is $10,100 FanDuel salary. He's 100 less on DraftKings, projected at 38.2 fantasy points here tonight. He has an ERA of 2.68. His record is 9-4 on the season, pitching an average of 99 pitches per game, averaging 44 fantasy points per game, and he scored 73, 16, and 18 fantasy points in the last 3 games. He pitched all 9 innings that last game, so he's got some major upside, and he's in a good matchup here tonight. So I like Garrett Cole here versus the Boston Red Sox. Okay, let's take a look at the catcher first base position. I like Jose Abreu with a small batting advantage here versus Jake Odorizzi. Jose Abreu, he's batting a .872 OPS versus righties, and Jake Odorizzi, he's pitching his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .857 OPS versus righties. Now I like this pick because Jose Abreu, he's 10 for 28, batting a .357 batting average and a .955 OPS versus Odorizzi. He's 3,600 FanDuel salary. He's 2,000 more on DraftKings, projected at 11.5 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 0, 6, and 18 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Jose Abreu here versus Jake Odorizzi. Okay, let's take a look at the second base position. I like Adam Frazier with a 67% batting advantage over Tyler Megill. Adam Frazier is batting 4% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .759 OPS versus righties. And Tyler Megill, he pitches his worst ball versus lefty batters, 63% worse than his other pitches, giving up a 1.207 OPS versus lefties. There's no at-bats versus Megill yet, and Adam Frazier is 3,000 FanDuel salary. He's 1,500 more on DraftKings, projected at 12.5 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 10, 9, and 6 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Adam Frazier here versus Tyler Megill. Okay, now I got a value play for you. I like Colton Wong with a 9% batting advantage over Luis Castillo. Colton Wong is batting a .737 OPS versus righties, and Luis Castillo, he's giving up a .749 OPS versus lefties. And I like this pick because Colton Wong is 9 for 21. That's a .429 batting average and a 1.240 OPS versus Castillo. He's only 2,800 FanDuel salary. He's 2,000 more on DraftKings, projected at 10.7 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 10 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 19, 0, and 21 fantasy points in his last 3 games. So I like Colton Wong here versus Luis Castillo. Okay, let's take a look at the third base position. I like Justin Turner batting against a low salary pitcher, Kyle Freeland. Justin Turner, he's batting a .839 OPS versus lefties, and Kyle Freeland is giving up a .827 OPS versus righties. Now I like this pick because Justin Turner, he's 13 for 29, that's a .448 batting average, and a 1.136 OPS versus Freeland. He's 4,000 FanDuel salary. He's 1,800 more on DraftKings. Projected at 10.8 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 12, 7, and 35 fantasy points in his last 3 games. And I like this pick because Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 12 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So a ton of fantasy points to go around in this one. So I like Justin Turner here versus Kyle Freeland.
Real quick, guys, I got great news. For a limited time, we're offering a full 30-day trial to Draft Dashboard. You can try all of our DFS tools for all sports. You can try the Position Optimizer, where you can see the top players ranked for each position. And we added a new Player Trends tool, where you can see the top salary differences between FanDuel and DraftKings. It's a really good tool to help you pick out value for the site that you're playing on. Oh, and if you're tired of doing research every day, we just added a cheat sheet that shows hand-picked plays for the slate. No confusing stat lines, no headaches, just a simple cheat sheet that shows the absolute best players for your lineups.
The other guy that I like is Manny Machado with a 19% batting advantage over a low salary pitcher, Patrick Corbin. Manny Machado, he bats a little bit better versus righty pitchers, batting a .897 OPS versus lefties. And Patrick Corbin, he throws 17% worse to righties as he does lefties, giving up a .857 OPS versus righties. And I like this pick because Manny Machado is 5 for 13 with a .385 batting average and a 1.044 OPS versus Corbin. He's 3,800 FanDuel salary. He's 1,700 more on DraftKings. Projected at 11.7 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 16, 0, and 0 fantasy points in the last 3 games. And Vegas thinks there's going to be 9.5 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So I like Manny Machado here versus Patrick Corbin. Okay, who do we have at the shortstop position? There's not a lot to like at this position, so I'm just going to go ahead and save some salary here. Here's a value play. I like Eugenio Suarez with a 26% batting advantage over Brandon Woodruff. Eugenio Suarez is batting 13% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .730 OPS versus righties, and Brandon Woodruff, he throws 13% worse to righties as he does lefties, actually throws his worst ball versus righty batters, giving up a .589 OPS versus righties. Eugenio Suarez is 5 for 18, batting a .278 batting average and a .794 OPS versus Woodruff. He's only 2,600 FanDuel salary. He's 1,300 more on DraftKings. Projected at 10.6 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 19, 6, and 19 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Eugenio Suarez here versus Brandon Woodruff. Okay, moving on to the outfield position. I like AJ Pollock with a 16% batting advantage over that low salary pitcher, Kyle Freeland. AJ Pollock, he's batting 24% better versus lefty pitchers, batting a 1.041 OPS versus lefties. And Kyle Freeland, he's giving up a .827 OPS versus righties. But I like this pick because AJ Pollock is 9 for 23. That's a .391 batting average with a 1.245 OPS versus Freeland. He's $3,500 FanDuel salary, and he's only $600 more on DraftKings. Projected at 9.4 fantasy points here tonight. He's averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season, and he scored 12, 6, and 53 fantasy points in the last 3 games. And we know Vegas thinks this is going to be a high-scoring game. 12 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So this is a good game to stack. So I like AJ Pollock here versus Kyle Freeland. Another guy that I like is Jesse Winker with a 17% batting advantage over Brandon Woodruff. Jesse Winker is batting 30% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .986 OPS versus righties, and Brandon Woodruff is giving up a .514 OPS versus lefties. But I like this pick because Jesse Winker is 7 for 17. That's a .412 batting average and a 1.059 OPS versus Woodruff. He's $3,400 FanDuel salary. He's $1,100 more on DraftKings, averaging 12 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 6, 6, and 9 fantasy points in the last 3 games, projected at 11 fantasy points here tonight. So I like Jesse Winker here versus Brandon Woodruff. Okay, the other guy that I like is Michael Brantley with a 16% batting advantage over Lucas Giolito. Michael Brantley is batting 28% better versus righty pitchers, batting a .934 OPS versus righties, and Lucas Giolito is giving up a .601 OPS versus lefties. Michael Brantley is 5 for 10, batting .500 with a 1.6 OPS versus Giolito. And he's only $3,100 FanDuel salary, and he's $400 more on DraftKings. So I like that price on both sites, averaging 11 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 28, 6, and 3 fantasy points in the last 3 games. So I like Michael Brantley here versus Lucas Giolito. Okay, now a value play for you. I like Will Myers with a 12% batting advantage over that low salary pitcher, Patrick Corbin. Will Myers is batting a .824 OPS versus lefties, and Patrick Corbin is giving up a .857 OPS versus righties. And I like this pick for a couple of reasons. Will Myers is 11 for 32. That's a .344 batting average and a 1.056 OPS versus Corbin. And he's only $2,500 FanDuel salary and $700 more on DraftKings. Projected at 10.6 fantasy points here tonight, averaging 9 fantasy points per game on the season. He scored 61 fantasy points last game, 6 fantasy points the game before that. Vegas thinks there's going to be 9.5 runs scored in this game. That's their over-under. So I like Will Myers here versus Patrick Corbin.
If you want to try all these daily fantasy tools for yourself, click the link in the description below this video or just go to draftdashboard.com. You can use our DFS lineup optimizer to build quality lineups using our picks and your own custom player pool. Click the link in the description below this video and try all these daily fantasy tools right now. Thanks so much for watching. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe to this channel and hit that bell icon so you can get instant updates whenever we post a new video. Thank you so much for watching, everyone. If you enjoyed this video, please smiggity smash that like button and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Oh, and please comment below with your favorite player for this NBA slate. I love to hear what you guys have to think. Thanks again and good luck.